Greetings, internet/world. I read the Bobby Brown memoir. It's called Every Little Step, published in 2016, so you don't have to. And I loved it. I freaking loved it. So if you want to get to the tawdry, the uh, tabloid, the salacious TMZ angle, he slept with Janet Jackson, or he dated her slash slept with her. Whitney slept with Tupac while she was married to Bobby B, by the way. Uh, Bobby B had sex with a little person, uh, and he says you can do stuff with a little woman that you can't do with a regular sized woman. And it's like, okay. But he did this right before he got married to Whitney under her blessing. So a month before they done got hitched, Whitney said, take this month and do whatever the hell you want to do. Go sow your royal oats. Sow your wild oats. Sow both your royal and wild oats. And so Bobby B did. He gathered up his friends and they went to Vegas and Manhattan and Hollywood, and they went to hotels and bars and clubs and strip clubs, and it was rancorous debauchery, um, doing tons of drugs, drinking like there's no tomorrow, and just having an ungodly amount of sex with women. He admits to slapping Whitney open-handed. He was supposed to be on a plane headed somewhere, and then he got hung up for whatever reason, so he was still at the house. So Whitney thought he wasn't home, so she walks in with her dealer, and this was at a time when Bobby B was clean. And so, and it was her dealer slash possible lover. She may have been sleeping with him. It's unclear. And so Bobby B did a number on him. He used to box when he was a youngster, and then he slapped Whitney in the chaos. And in the fog of war, he admitted to slapping Whitney. That's the only time he admitted to hitting her. And he's been shot twice. Once as a teenager, he was romancing a young lady, and her ex came to a party that they were at and shot him in the leg. Bobby was running away, trying to get out of there. Zigzag motion. And then another time, him and his hangers on, his friends, his boys, whatever, there was a misunderstanding at the disco tech, and as it so happens, he got shot again in the leg. It was more like a grazing, but there you go. He was shot twice. The part of this autobiography that hits me hard. So it's 2011. He moves his mom and dad out to Los Angeles with them. Him and Bobby had been divorced already. So he's got his mom and his dad. Dad, health concerns. Mom getting up there, having issues, but dad was the primary concern. But he moved them both out there, and they lived with his brother, who has been a constant presence in his life, helped him with business affairs and managerial issues as well. Positive presence in his life. So mom and dad are living with his brother in a house close by to where Bobby B, resides. Mom is the first to go. She enjoyed eating her dinner in bed while watching TV. Brother granted her wish, and it was just a regular evening, and he served her dinner while she was in her bedroom while watching TV. He left. He came back to gather the plates and whatnot, and she was gone. She heart attack. Dad, cancer, got the big C. Bobby B said when his mom and dad were very strong figures in his life, had just very, very lively, um, bigger than life. Said his dad was super funny, super fun, and he worried, or he knew it was the end when his dad stopped talking, stopped socializing, and his mom and his dad, who weren't together, although they were never technically married, but they were together for a while to have Bobby B. Um, but they both passed in the same year. Mom passed 11 months later, dad passed. Now, since their divorce in 2007, Bobby Christina, their daughter, Bobby with an I, uh, stayed with Whitney. And in the years after their divorce, uh, Bobby Christina and Bobby B uh, just became estranged. Well, Bobby Christina began using, and her mom's influence, coupled with her mom's team influence, they just never got together. Bobby B talks about they'd have phone calls. Sometimes she would just be uninterested. Sometimes she was high as a kite. Sometimes she was promising the world, like, oh, I can't wait to come to Los Angeles and see you and see my stepbrothers. Bobby had a few other kids previous Whitney, and then he had a few post Whitney. He's currently married. So there were promises of we're going to get together and hang out and have fun and be a good old loving family, and it never came to fruition. So Whitney dies, and that's a whole scene because Whitney's team did not want Bobby's kids up front, and their reasoning. Well, they never explained it to Bobby, but I guess their reasoning was that's not technically Whitney's kids, so they wanted them in back. Bobby B could sit up front, um, so that was all. And he wanted to cause a scene, but he decided smartly not to. And there's a part where so he's leaving. He does not stay for the full ceremony. He's leaving. He sees Bobby K Bobby Christina in a car, and so he's making his way over like, hey, that's my daughter. I'm gonna go see my girl, and then security steps in, armed security, by the way, who says, hey, Bobby, we were told that you cannot talk to Christina. So again, cooler heads prevailed. Bobby B, cooler head, yes, it happened, and so he never got to see her. uh, 2015, Bobby's in Los Angeles, new wife, couple kids. He's in touch with his pre-Whitney kids. They're close, and so Bobby's doing his thing in Los Angeles, and he gets a call. Hey, your daughter was found in a bathtub. Uh, Possible overdose, potential overdose. She's not dead, but they found her underwater. So Bobby B and his wife was pregnant at the time, and pregnant woman ain't supposed to fly. They also have a kid out there in Los Angeles. She can take care of. She needs to take care of. So he flies by himself to Atlanta to handle the situation. Whitney's team still sees Bobby Christina as their financial windfall, their savior, their money coattails, um, and so there's a whole power of attorney struggle. In the end, Bobby B prevails because he is the father, uh, but and so he gets to Atlanta. Bobby Christina is in the hospital in a hospital bed. Essentially, I'm just saying this because I don't know another way to say it, but she's a vegetable. Um, many issues with her brain. And so Bobby B goes through a few months of trying to do a rehab and exercises with her and talk to her and keep her company. And he's praying, and he's just like, it's okay. I am resigned to taking care of my daughter, and I will move her in with me, and I will feed her every meal, and I will bathe her and clean her. I'm okay with that as long as she lives and survives and makes progress and gets better. And so these few months are filled with ups and downs. She makes some progress, like her eyes and head follow him from one part of the hospital room to the other. Slight movement, a smile here and there, but there's also setbacks. They're trying different medications on her. Uh, some she reacts to better than others. There's some that are worse, so they yank her right off of those. It's very touch and go, and he's dealing with all this by himself in Atlanta. Whitney's team of lawyers and former managers and people who have a financial stake in the Whitney Houston estate, still going back and forth with him over control. So he's dealing with that. Gets a call. Wife is about to deliver in Los Angeles, their baby. He hops on a plane, flies out to Los Angeles, delivers healthy, bouncing baby with his new wife. And 2 days later, Bobby Christina flatlines, is dead. So he experienced the highest of highs, giving life to another human being, birthing a baby. As a man, as much as a man can birth a baby, but welcoming a bouncing baby into the world, and then his 22-year-old daughter, Bobby Christina, 2 days later, is gone. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows. So I was reading this on my Kindle in bed. It was Sunday morning, next to Carolyn, and I just start bawling. I just lose it because it just rips at my heart. It tears at my soul. I can't believe Bobby B had to go through this. This is just it's the worst. But I mean, it's the worst and the best because he had a healthy baby boy. But 2 days later, tragically, um, his daughter, who was having many issues, passes away and dies. And I just lose it. Carolyn was up, my wife, um, and she was on her Kindle also, and I just started crying and bawling like a bit, and I was just like, it's heartbreaking. It's so flippin' sad. The tale is just it's unbelievable. It just really tore at me. It gripped at me. So dad, mom, Whitney, and Bobby K died within 2 years of each other. And there's a saying, don't bury your kids. You're supposed to go first and then they can die. And this was not the case. Another thing in 2015, um, his other son, Bobby Jr., with a Y, died. He was in his early 30s. He died. So he's had to bury two kids. He's had six total. His life is just it's a lot of success and fame and money and accolades and living the life of a big time an R&B Lothario, but it's just brought down by these these tragic untimely deaths. Um, One thing that it kept bugging me. So when he gets a call, Bobby K, Bobby Christina needs help. He flies out to Atlanta to handle the matter. they start transferring her. So this hospital in Atlanta is like, I mean, she can stay here, but that hospital across town has more research and people who specialize in brain issues and better machines, more technologically advanced machines. So he transfers her to that hospital, and then he gets wind of a hospital in Chicago that is even more world renowned brain uh, research and treatment. So he sends her up there. He didn't like them. He said that they were way too harsh and abrupt with the drugs they were putting her on to help her, but she would react negatively, and they would not wean her off as quickly as he felt like she should have been taken off of them. But hospital transfers. So just the logistics of it. You have Bobby Christina, who has brain damage, brain issues. Like, how do you wheel her? She's in a hospital bed with the wheels on it, I assume, and then you gotta wheel her. I mean, just any corner, any bump in the sidewalk, hitting the wall accidentally, someone bumping into it, walking by, the transfer process, and then going to Chicago. Was it on a helicopter? Was it on a plane? How do you do? Very, very delicate uh, matters at hand, and I just wonder how is that pulled off? It's got to be like a third party who specializes, and this is what they do, and they have it uh, down to a science by the book A to Z, to where there's nothing that will happen to her because they take such great care. I don't know, but I was fascinated by it. So I almost didn't read this book because it's called Bobby Brown, Every Little Step, named after one of his minor hit songs. But the the cover is a picture of 10-year oldish Bobby Brown, and I thought, oh, he's just gonna talk about his childhood. And I love celebrity memoirs, but I skip to the juicy stuff. I get when they start being a celebrity and start creating uh, hits, mad hits, and start going platinum and living the life and dealing with fame and celebrity, and the trials and travails and the pitfalls and all that. That's when I really that that's what I really glom onto. That's what I really enjoy. So I see this picture of a young Bobby B, and I'm like, I don't think I want to read this. I don't want to read. I don't want to be bored by his. I was a kid and I was ugly and no one liked me. Okay, but I hopped in there and I did skip his childhood. But the thing with Bobby B, at 14 years old, he was in New Edition. He was having making hit records with New Edition, starting to make that mad paper as a teenager. And I love this book. His writing style is just so off the cuff, straight from his brain, his mouth, just purely unfiltered, raw, real, conversational. And so I loved his writing style. It was just like I just felt like he was just chatting. He was just telling it like it is. Similar to Britney's book, you just feel like they're just blah 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 into microphone, or whoever their ghostwriter is sitting there just writing everything down, taking notes or whatever. But it was excellent, well written. I've been listening to his music, of course, New Edition, My Prerogative, Humping Around, but don't sleep on his hit song from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack, On Our Own. I said we in control. Oh, you know it. Oh, you know it. Oh. So I highly suggest Bobby Brown, his autobiography, memoir, or whatever. Every Little Step. If New Jack Swing means anything to you, Teddy Riley, if he's special in your teenage heart, definitely go check it out. I loved it. You will. Well, I bawled like a baby. You may bawl like a baby. FYI, warning, spoiler alert. But ultimately, I was just appreciative of my life, and Lennox and Luna, my stepkids, and my wife Carolyn, and my parents, who I'm, I wouldn't say I'm going with exactly what Bobby B went through, but there's nonstop conversation about them moving to Sacramento so we can be closer, uh, and so I can take care of them, uh, and it's just, and I'm sorry, my debut album didn't go 5 times platinum. Okay, so I can't just move them up here into a nice, lovely house nearby. But yeah, ripped at my soul, tore my heart to shreds. An excellent read, Bobby Brown, Every Little Step. It's on Kindle from the library, I believe, one of the libraries. We're members of West Sac and Sac City Library. So check it out. I hope you enjoy this. Toodles!
And oop.
Oh, yeah. Glaring omission. Uh, Whitney died via drug overdose in a bathtub, drowning. Bobby Christina nearly died that way a few days before Whitney actually died. And then the second overdose slash drowning, brain damage, was a few years later in Atlanta. But timeline, Bobby Christina overdoses, found in tub, rescued. The next day or 2 days later, right around there, um, Whitney overdoses, bathtub, dead. And then 2 years later, uh, Bobby Christina, overdose, bathtub, and obviously brain damage after that. Sad, sad.